Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, I'm going to react to culture shocked Americans reacting to things that they did not realize were so American. Now, this is going to be a fun one because I'm sure, like, when you're born and raised in America, there's going to be things that, you know, you just expect everyone to do worldwide. Like me, for example, like, I thought everybody drank cups of tea. Like, I thought tea was everybody worldwide. When they got home from work, they put the kettle on and made a cup of tea. But it's very, very British. And there's definitely things like in America are the same thing, like having a corn dog, like drinking root beer. So yeah, it's going to be fun to see what, because this is from Reddit and I love Reddit. I'm a big Reddit user, so it's going to be interesting to see what comes up in this video. So let's do it.
Americans of Reddit, what is something you didn't realize was typically American until you went abroad? Having your drink constantly refilled at restaurants. Yeah. I just wanna drink a ton of water, alright. Garbage disposals in sinks. When I moved to the UK, my flatmates asked how in movies people would stick their hands in the sink drain and it'd be ripped apart.
That's so true. Like, I wish that this was a thing here in the UK, because when we finish dinner, we have to go and scrape whatever's left on the plate in the bin and then go to the sink and wash the plate or put it in the dishwasher. So having a garbage disposal in the sink must just save so much time.
I told them about garbage disposals and they were very weirded out. Red plastic cups for parties.
Yeah.
So much so that people outside US use them as an accessory to American themed parties. I doubt this is restricted to America in any way, but when I studied abroad in the UK, the lack of public drinking laws was a bit of a culture shock. Being able to walk outside with a bottle of beer was very freeing.
That is such a big one. Like here, if I'm going to the Emirates Stadium to watch Arsenal, from the station or the pub to the stadium, I'll have a bottle of beer in my hand, and everybody, like thousands of people, will as well. It just adds to the atmosphere. So I imagine that's probably illegal in America, but people must do it anyway. They must just disguise the beer.
Root beer is apparently disgusting and an offense to most of the world's palate. Having plenty of free bathrooms around for the public to use.
It's a big one.
When I went to Australia, I found out very quickly that no one down there roots for a team. They go for a team. So when I said I root for the Red Sox, I got a lot of weird looks. Rooting means effing in Australian.
Oh.
Free public restrooms. When I visited Europe, I thought it was the strangest thing that you had to pay to use a public restroom.
Yeah, I don't know why we have to do that here. Maybe it's to pay for the upkeep, because generally public toilets are really clean, really modern here, but still, to have to pay to pee? Come on.
There's a big shortage of water fountains once you leave the US, I've noticed. Sugar. When I visited Japan, even some of their sweetest desserts pale in comparison to how much sugar is in American food. Not an American, but I can always spot Americans at the airport because they take off their shoes at security, even if it's not required. Portion sizes. My high school senior trip to London. As a typically ravenous appetite 18-year-old, I couldn't get over how small everything was standard. Dressing like to do stuff like grocery shopping. Went to the Netherlands for about 2 weeks, and we never saw anyone dressing comfy like, everyone looked nice, everywhere, at all hours. You catch me walking through Walmart at 3 AM and I'm wearing old PJs, whatever shirt I happen to exist in, and I'm probably not wearing socks.
This is a big one. Like, since I've started watching people of Walmart, and it's crazy to see what people wear in Walmart. I know you're only grocery shopping, but still, I mean, like here, people look relatively, you know, dressed up, to be honest. I think whenever you see people in public here, you kind of want to look somewhat decent, I guess.
I was struck by the extent to which nobody talks to strangers in Northern Europe. Even in big cities in the US, people will talk to each other sometimes in line, on the subway, etc. Not deep conversations, but it isn't weird to make casual conversation. How large grocery stores are here?
Yeah, I wish we did more of that. To be honest, I do it, and a lot of people do it, but it's not as widely accepted, I think, as in America.
My wife is not American, and we lived in China, and were in HK all the time. They had large international stores that were great, and she didn't really grasp the size of American grocery stores till our first week in the USA, and there's 150 feet of cereals on one aisle. Being friendly to an extent, I checked in at a hostel and walked into the lounge area where people from all over the world were just chilling. I kinda introduced myself to the whole room, and someone goes, "You're from the States, yeah?" And I'm like, "Yeah, how do you know?" They said, "Only an American will walk into a room of strangers and introduce themselves to everybody." My British friend makes fun of me for how much cheese I use in my cooking. Doesn't stop her from inhaling my potato casseroles.
Inhaling.
There you go. Buying stuff and the cashier putting your items in a plastic or paper bag. Went to Germany and found it strange they don't bag your items. Everyone just brings their own bag or dumps their stuff in a backpack.
So in America, hold on a minute. Oh yeah, because here they'll scan your items, but you have to bag it yourself. So in America, will they bag your groceries for you? That's pretty good service, to be fair.
Measuring walking/driving distance in blocks. It's the unit of measure I use most frequently when giving directions. The restaurant is 3 blocks away. Go south 1 block, and then 2 blocks west. I live 6 blocks from the grocery store. It wasn't until I studied abroad in England and got a complete blank look when I asked someone how many blocks away the library was that I realized using block as a measurement only makes sense in cities that were largely pre-planned and built on grid system. Aka, not many places outside the US.
Yeah, like this is a big one. We have one city here in the UK called Milton Keynes that is very American. It's like it's built on a grid system. It uses blocks, and other than that, you will not find any city similar to that. So using blocks to describe, you know, distance and stuff, yeah, people are just they're gonna burst there. They're gonna be like, huh?
S'mores. I was in New Zealand having a bonfire on the beach and someone went and grabbed a bag of marshmallows and then everyone just ate them by themselves. And someone from Sweden asked me if s'mores were a real thing or only on TV. I was flabbergasted. This all could be due in part to the fact other places don't tend to have graham crackers. Massively wide roads/lanes. The whole of Ireland made me feel claustrophobic, but when I got back home the roads felt like way too much wasted space. 24-hour stores. It's weird not being able to buy random shit 4 AM. Cold drinks. Every European country I visited the drinks would best be described as cool, but definitely not cold like in the US. It is a Japanese culture to always greet someone as a sign of respect, but I feel uneasy that Americans sometimes looks at you and do a half smile while not saying anything. The stereotype about us being loud is true. I never thought of myself as being loud until I went abroad and would hang up the phone after speaking in what I thought was appropriate volume to find everyone around me was staring at me and realized how much more quiet they were. All whoops.
I think that one is a space thing. I've talked about this in previous videos. I think American buildings, houses are just so much bigger. Like land-wise, America's so huge, so people aren't as close together. So you have to speak louder to get your volume across. At least that's a theory of mine. Whereas here, houses are smaller, apartments are smaller, buildings are smaller. So you're generally much closer to people. So you don't have to kind of speak as loudly.
Ask any soldier after multiple deployments what one of the most remarkable things about America, and it would be massive grocery stores. Road trips, at least just jumping in the car and driving a few hours without giving it much thought. I live in a large western state, and it seems at least every other weekend my family and I were in the car traveling for a few hours to see some sight. Going to Mexico or another state. I have relatives in Switzerland and they were going to drive us to the Frankfurt airport, and I was blown away how big of a deal it was to them. My uncle had the car inspected, shopped around for gas, and printed off travel and weather reports. All for a trip my dad would have said, "Hey, let's do this weekend." In the car, kids.
Yeah, I think here it's probably petrol. I don't know about you guys in America, but gas prices here are out of control. Like I have a Ford Fiesta 3-door. Relatively small car. To fill my engine now, it costs £80. 80 quid to fill up my car. That's about $110, something like that. It's insane. It's insane.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. On a related note, no, Vegemite and butter are not an adequate substitution. You know who you are. Keeping Akon 100% of the time in the summer. Visited Madrid for about a month to see the exchange student we housed and found that they typically only turn on Ak at night to sleep or when it reaches a damned 105 degree F.
Wow.
Eating a burger and fries with your hands. I just assumed everyone did this. I went to Sweden with my boyfriend and we stopped at a burger joint. Small local place. When the chef heard we were American, he immediately wanted us to try a specialty burger he made and tell him what we thought about it. They were all excited when we picked it up with our hands and we realized everyone else in the place was using a fork and knife. Burger was 11/10. Water pressure. Y'all's showers are like a flower watering pot. I like to feel my shower. Like, make the pressure strong enough to tear my skin off, then back it off like 10%. I grew up in the...
I'm the same. I love super strong showers where you can just feel it like blasting on you.
US and moved to Europe about 10 years ago. I learned quickly to get out of the habit of smiling or saying hello to strangers on the street. I didn't understand why people found it so off-putting at first, because I thought I was simply being polite. A European friend explained that it comes across as funny/untrustworthy and puts people on their guard. It can still be hard sometimes to shake the feeling that I'm being rude by not smiling at everyone I pass by.
I think this one depends on the area you're in. Like if you're in London, probably don't do it as much unless you are familiar with like your neighbours, which I am. But if you go to the Midlands or up north, it completely flips. People are like, "You're right, morning, how are you?" And I love that, to be honest. That's why I'm thinking of moving back up there.
Here in the States, pregnancy announcements, reveals, baby showers are mainstream, but it's generally a big no-no to bring it up in Kenya. My mom found out the hard way. Essentially, asking someone when the baby is due is the equivalent of asking the person when did you and your husband F, which is considered extremely rude. The lady my mom asked was gracious about it, but said if we were not such good friends I would have slapped you.
Wow.
I'm not American, but visit the US a lot, and I tell you, almost all Americans has this habit of giving the half smile look to anyone. That is not just normal anywhere else. Getting to choose from like 50 different types and subtypes of sodas. Hearing commercials advocating you to go to the doctor and demand a prescription for whatever fantasy pill is new to the market on the radio like it is no big deal.
Fantasy pill.
Going out to a restaurant. In America, you are seated as soon as possible, and then they bring you drinks, appetizers, entree, dessert and then check as quick as they possibly can, if it's good service, for a total time of 45 minutes to an hour and a half-ish. Staying past this time is seen as a bit rude. In Europe, going out to eat seemed to be more...
Hold on a minute. So, and check out as quick as possible. 45 minutes? What? That's not long. So if you're at dinner somewhere, you typically have to be out of the restaurant in 45 minutes to an hour and a half. That seems really fast. You don't really get to kind of relax and chill.
More of an event that you slowly enjoyed for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
First, they bring you drinks and an appetizer for the first hour. Then the second hour is the entree and dessert. Then it's more drinks for another half hour or so. I don't know if it's because we were American, but it seemed like the wait staff everywhere we went was annoyed that we were rushing them when we just thought it was bad service and didn't understand the routine. The prices abroad don't add tax after the fact. You pay what the price shows. No need to figure the tax. Dumb that we do that here. Sure.
I've said that on previous videos. I just think add the tax to the price of the product. Just make it easy, you know, because they can do it. If the desire's there, you can do it. So just do it. Like,
I swear there are 14 million people in Istanbul, and I was the only one wearing shorts. Not American. But I found out that having an electric kettle is mandatory in every home like toilet paper or whatever. Canadian for reference. How are you? Being used in place of hello even with strangers. In the US, how are you needs, only to be replied with good, you, almost as a way of saying hi. Elsewhere people don't really know how to respond when a stranger asks how are you doing, or how's it going. I did an art history course in Italy. What really stood out to me was the size of cars over there. Over here you have a mix of mid-sized sedans and pickup trucks slash SUVs, with the occasional compact car. Back when I went, compact cars here were incredibly scarce. Over there, it seemed like most everyone drove a compact car, with the occasional sports car. I remember counting 6 pickup trucks in the 10 days I was there. For comparison, I can name more than 6 people I know with a pickup here.
It's a size thing. In Europe, you know, roads are a lot narrower, countries are a lot smaller. So, you know, why would you have a pickup truck when you're not going to be able to fit it down the road? You're not going to be able to park it anywhere because it's going to take up so much space. Yeah, like I think America's quite unique in the sense that it's so big. You got huge roads, so you can easily find places to park and stuff.
Parenting roles falling almost exclusively on the mother. Going to Denmark was weird. Almost all strollers were pushed by dads. There was billboards with dads snuggling with their babies, and they were much more loving and affectionate than I've ever seen. How colorful people dress. In pretty much every European country I've been to, people dress with really neutral colors without big logos or graphics. In America it's pretty common to have people dress in bright colors, or have a shirt with a cool graphic on it. Europeans dress pretty fashionable, but they aren't very expressive when it comes to clothing.
That's true.
Huge amounts of personal space. I know everywhere has the concept of a personal bubble, but for Americans, it's more like a personal iron curtain. Now I can't unsee the length
Iron curtain.
that Americans will go to be far away from other people. Next time you get on an elevator or a metro in America, look at how perfectly spaced out everyone is standing to maximize the distance to other people.
That was fun, and yeah, most of it, to be honest, all of it is true. Like the fact that in a lot of European cities, how can I say this? People aren't quite as immediately warm. However, I will say though that once you get to know most the Europeans that I've come across anyway, super inviting, super friendly. Like I've told this story before. In Amsterdam, me and my friend turned up we didn't have a hotel. So we're on the train, talking to each other about where we're gonna stay. And this woman who was in the carriage next to us, in the chairs next to us, basically, she just said, come over to mine, you know, you can crash on my sofa, whatever. She was by herself, it was incredible. But yeah, like definitely a lot of the stuff here was true. The SUVs and stuff like that, the pickup trucks, you don't see them over here, probably because our roads are so narrow. But to be honest, I would like to see us increase the size of our roads, but that's for another video. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.